Over to the Hindi edition, Towards Infinity. ಇದೆಯಾ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಫಾರ್ವರ್ಡ್ ಇದೆಯಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಕಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆಯಾ ಅದು? ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ ದ ನ್ಯೂ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ ದೇ ಮೈಟ್ ನಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಇಟ್. ಇದೆಯಾ ನ್ಯೂ ಬುಕ್ಕಲ್ಲಿ? ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಉತ್ತರ ಹೇಳ್ರಿ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ವಾ?
ನಮ್ದು ಹಳೇದೇ ಸರ್.
ನಿನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಹಳೇದಿದೆಯಾ? It is with deep feeling of humility that I have accepted the invitation to write this foreword to the work Anant Ki Or by Sri Ramchandraji Maharaj of Shahjahanpur. When I went through the work in manuscript, I felt that I was indeed ill-fitted to introduce the work to the world. But since it was his earnest desire, I thought, however, to do so. I have accepted this task. Sri Ramchandraji Maharaj is one of the foremost, if not the foremost, of living teachers of mankind, who has rather unobtrusively been training and teaching the path of recondite yoga of the most ancient times to worthy seeking souls. His great and worthy master, Samarth Guru Sri Ramchandraji of Fatehgarh, had taught him the path of direct achievement of the highest or the ultimate state, and had indeed granted him the most sublime and ultimate state of perfected yoga. The most important part of this yoga lies in the supreme function of the Guru, one who has attained the highest state, described as the ultimate or Anant. Anant is infinite or endless. ಗೋಪಾಲ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಇದೆಯಾ ನಿನ್ನ ಬುಕ್ಕಲ್ಲಿ? ಇಲ್ಲ. ಗಣೇಶನ್ ಬುಕ್ಕಲ್ಲೂ ಇಲ್ವಾ?
Yeah, forward is there, but it's different.
ಭರತ್ ಓದುವಾಗ ಆದ್ರೆ ನಿಂಗೆ ಜ್ವರ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಂತ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಓದ್ತೇನೆ.
ಒಂದು ಪ್ಯಾರಾಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಓದ್ ಅಷ್ಟಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಒಂಚೂರು ಕಾಫಿ ಕೊಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ.
ಪ್ರೀಫೇಸ್ ಅಂತ ಇದೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ.
It is a pity that though philosophers do speak of the infinite, they immediately give up the endeavor to realize it by curious escapisms of intellect, quoting the Vedantic text that from which speech returns, mind returns, and sense returns. Na vak gacchati na mano, or na tatra suryo bhati na sasanksh, and so on. Indescribable, it is yet capable of being experienced to the grace of the ultimate. For verily the divine reveals its body. Tanum swam vivrunute to the chosen one. In the abhyas of this yoga, Raja Yoga, Sri Ramchandraji Maharaj gives an inward account of the progress of the experiences as the soul passes from one state to another. This
ನೀನು ಸರಾ ಪಟಾಕಿ ಹೊಡೆದಂಗೆ ಹೊಡಿತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಪಟಾಕಿ ಸರ ಹೊಡಿತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದ್ಸತಿ ಹಚ್ಚಿದ್ರೆ ಪಟ 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 ಅಂತ ಹೊಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಥರ. ಸರಿ, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ನನ್ನ ಕಾಫಿ ಆಯಿತು, ಬರೀ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಬೇಡಿ, ನಾವು ಓದ್ತೀನಿ, ಚಿಂತೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಡಿ. It is a pity that though philosophers do speak of the infinite, they immediately give up the endeavor to realize it. ಸೊ ನೋಡಿ, ಸೆಂಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಓದಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಆವಾಗ ಪಾಸ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. When you give the pass, alva, people will have the time to absorb what is being read. ಆಮೇಲೆ realize it by curious escapisms of intellect, quoting the Vedantic text that from which speech returns, mind returns, and senses returns. Na vak gacchati na mana. So that is the Sanskrit phrase. Na vak gacchati na mana. So where the speech returns, na vak means speech, gacchati returns, and na mana, the mind also returns. And then na tatra surya bhati na shashankaha, where the sun does not shine nor the stars twinkle, and so on. In other words, it's a realm beyond all these things. It's a realm beyond the senses, beyond the mind. It's a realm beyond the sun and the stars. In fact, in Upanishads, it says that for a liberated soul, when they leave the body, they travel around the rays of the sun. So you might wonder, Who carries the soul? What is the vehicle for the soul to be carried? The vehicle for the soul to be carried is the sun's rays. So it's almost like the sun's rays carries the souls back to a certain distance. Where does it go? It goes to the orb of the sun. Remember, the soul in its purity cannot be burnt by sun. Why? Can anybody say?
There's no tinge of materiality in it.
Right. So there is no materiality. So since it's only space, the original identity of the soul is space only. Anyway, the sun is in space only. Can the sun burn the space? No. So when the soul travels along the rays of the sun, goes to the sun. It goes to the orb of the sun. Orb is the kind of outer outline of the sun. It doesn't go in. It goes to the orb of the sun. What happens then? Then what happens is a superhuman being. It's called as Atimanava. A superhuman being. That means elevated souls. They come down to receive this soul. Then they take the soul appropriately to the place that the soul has to go. This is what is called as a Uttarayana Marga or Uttar Marga, northern path. Now I want you people to read the southern path. What happens to unliberated souls? How do they travel? Where do they go? And then what happens? So go to Upanishads and type southern path of travel of the soul after death. Your thing is there, no? Even our Sundar Pichai was saying yesterday, don't believe everything that the AI says. Okay. So don't go to AI. Go to simple Google review, Google search, and type this. Northern path for the soul after death, Upanishad. Then you give southern path for the soul after death, Upanishads. Automatically it will come. Chanya. There is one website, swami-krishnananda.org. Go to that website. But I can't exactly remember where it is, but I can find out. But I want you to do that endeavor. Do exert yourselves at least to some extent, because that is what is going to happen. You will only go either two paths, either northern path or southern path. There is no eastern and western. Okay. Once I had gone to, in UK, I had gone to a Sardar shop and I asked that fellow, I need Uttar Ramayana, the CDs. You know Uttar Ramayana? What is Uttar Ramayana? Dinesh,
Uttara means north, right?
correct. So what does it mean? Uttar means North
Valmiki,
Ramayana. North Ramayana.
Valmiki, Valmiki Ramayana,
In Valmiki Ramayana, which part is called as Uttar Ramayana?
Balakanta.
By saying that khanda, this khanda, you are tying me in knots.
Because in south we read Kamba Ramayana.
No, only Tamilians read Kamba Ramayana,
Yes.
not South. Anyway, so see, this is what has happened to our culture. We don't know many things about our own culture. And we all claim ourselves to be Hindus and Indians. Right? So at least we should know some things about it. You don't need to be fanatical about it, but you should know some things. Uttaramayana is that part of the Ramayana which comes after the birth of Lavakusha. That part. So, Ramayana generally ends the way it is shown as after death of Ravana, Rama coming back to Ayodhya and taking back his kingdom. That's where it ends mostly. But then the story continues. The Rama did not, he did not have a very peaceful life even after that. After coming back also, there were a lot of challenges he faced. And then ultimately Sita is sent to the forest. And she actually delivers the babies in the forest, in Valmiki's ashram. And then these two kids grow up in guidance of Valmiki ashram, under guidance of Valmiki. And when they reach a certain age, since a small, young age, they're taught Ramayana, the story of Rama. And they come back to the kingdom of Rama to tell the people of Ayodhya about the story of Rama. Once they hear the story of Rama through these kids' songs or poetry, the people in Ayodhya realize the mistake, what great tragedy they had done for Sita. And the story goes on. So this part where Sita is sent to the forest again, and then she delivers the baby, and the babies grow up and then come back to Ayodhya and then recite this story of Rama. This part is till Sita leaves this abode, then Rama leaves. That part is called as Uttar Ramayana. But anyway, I went to this sing shop and asked the Sardar, I need Uttar Ramayana. क्या मिलेगा क्या? No, no. That fellow said, हाँ क्यों नहीं मिलेगा? उत्तर भी मिल जाएगा, दक्षिण पूर्व पश्चिम भी मिल जाएगा. What it indicated was he had no clue what he was talking about. But he had the CDs because he recognized the CDs by the name. What does it mean? He had no clue. That's why he said, "Oh, दक्षिण भी मिल जाएगा और पूर्व पश्चिम भी मिल जाएगा रे." We just laughed. But anyway, we got it in his shop. So that's like that. That many times we utter certain things without knowing what we are actually talking about. Okay, and sometimes AI also does it. And now I'm just thinking, should I actually launch my career into diagnosing AI psychosis and then treating AI psychosis? When we are used to diagnosing psychosis in humans, why not diagnose it in AI? Probably there is more money to it, right? Anyway. But it's not going to give you reality. You will be going away from that direction. So, and so on. Indescribable as it is, yet capable of being experienced through the grace of the ultimate. So, three things. It is indescribable, but it can be experienced. By what? By the grace of the ultimate. Yesterday night we were talking about the same thing, no? One grace. Once you establish that strong link with the master, which cannot be cut, the grace from the master starts flowing. And one grace from the master is equivalent to 1,000 plus transmissions. So what is necessary is that grace from the divine has to descend. And the next question, who gets it? One who is prepared in the heart. When do they get it? Anytime. Where do they get it? Anywhere. But the grace descends. For verily the divine reveals its body. The divine has its own body. And what is that? Tanum, Swam, Vivranute. Vivranute is like an Vivarane, like explanation. Tanum is body. Tvam means self. So the God himself will reveal his body. Tanum Swam Vibhrunute to the chosen one. So he reveals himself to the chosen one. Next, the question comes, who is the chosen one? The chosen one is one who can evoke that vibration in the ultimate by their devotion. That is the chosen one. Okay. Now, in the Abhyasa of this yoga, the Raja Yoga, Sri Ramchandraji Maharaj gives an inward account of the progress of the experiences as the soul passes from one state to another. These bhumikas or stages of the ultimate have indeed been formed for my each individual ray or soul through the process of creative descent and has formed several knots or granthis or planes, each developing a particular law and form of its own, which have made for bondage and sorrow. It is inevitable that a soul that has thus formed its descent should attempt to return. The awareness of the steps of the descent have been forgotten. It remains for it to seek one who not only knows the steps but has gone beyond to the ultimate and can lead one up through yogic transmission from stage to stage, for there is always the serious doubt about anyone who has attended but little and has been caught up in some higher knot of being that is, but rotating him in that higher circle or wheel, however much beyond our human state. So, in other words, there are different stages. How did these different stages come? Because of creative descent. When the creative descent happened, what happened? At different stages, different chakras or knots were formed. Now, each chakra has its own functioning, has its own structure. So, you need to find somebody who's crossed all the knots and then reach the ultimate so that they can actually guide you back to the ultimate. But if you catch hold of somebody who themselves are caught in one of the chakras, they might not be capable of actually taking you to the ultimate. The acute and the clear vision of Sri Ramchandraji shows that these knots are at once to be understood in their true nature and dissolved, and higher forms recovered and integrated and transcended. The originality of these descriptions and the method of transcendence of these knots or circles of beings and the experiences of the different kinds of ananda that had made for the descent and now makes for the ascent reveals a new technique unknown to earlier extant yoga literature. We do have descriptions of bhumikas, the sapta bhumikas and granthis in some of the Upanishads, but we never come across the psychological proof of their nature and being and the status of gnana. So Upanishads talk about different bhumikas, different stages. Upanishads talk also about some certain granthis. They do not link the bhumikas or the granthis with the psychological nature or the psychological nature or the being or the status of the gnana. So what Babaji is doing is he's linking up these two, the granthis or the chakras with the psychological state. When we say condition, it is a condition of the mind that you get when you are in that particular chakra, when the work happens at that chakra. So Babaji is relating that to the psychological state and the state of being, and he relates that to the state of gnana. So gnana, being and nature, these are the three things that he reveals and makes a relationship with the granthis. These are the three things that he does. In that way, by making this link, by observing our heart and utilizing the mind to grasp the condition in the heart, we can actually link up and know what exactly is happening in our spiritual journey. Are you able to make out how we actually grasp what is happening in the spiritual journey? Some conditions opens in the heart. You put the mind next to it. The mind grasps the essence of it and the mind reveals the nature of that particular condition or the nature of that being or gnana. When the mind completely assimilates that essence of that condition in the heart, then we are said to be a gnani. So that is practical gnana, not intellectual gnana. It's a practical experiential gnana coming from the heart. Does it make sense? ಏನು ಭರತ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತೇನೋ? ಬಾಬುಜಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾರ್ಟ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ನು ಮೈಂಡ್ನು ಲಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. so that we can use the mind to grasp the condition of the heart and then know our progress. Also understand what is what is changing in the nature of our being, and to that extent we become gnani. So now you see, when you actually learn from the condition of the heart, you are an experiential gnani. That is what gnana means. Experiential in nature. When you learn certain things from the books at the level of the mind, that is intellectual gnani. This is an experiential gnani, that is an intellectual gnani. Two ways. Now, Sri Ramchandraji gives us an account of the 13 Granthis and throws wonderful light on them. They are not to be cut. So, this is another thing. Upanishad says the Granthis has to be cut asunder. Cut. But Babuji says it is not to be cut. It has to be loosened and transcended. Going further than any, he shows higher levels of being which transcend the Gnana Bhumikas and arise to the supreme transcendental states which are open to the human being. But at that stage, the human soul would have passed beyond anything that we call human and have arrived at the ultimate being. In and through the proper understanding through meditation, one can discern the stages at which some of the mightiest saints and the sages of the history have arrived during their lives and verify it in oneself the blessedness that is waiting to be explored and entered into. Here we discern the authentic voice of the Supreme Master whose love for man transcends anything that one knows of. So then why should Babaji give all these things to mankind? Because of the love for the mankind. So all the spiritual gurus give to human beings what they have actually grasped. And that is their gift to mankind. They don't hold it back. It is part of their duty to give it back. In a world of inner conflicts, it is easy to raise the slogans of world welfare without preparing each for the welfare. For it is ever true that the problem of the universe is the problem of the individual. Those who speak of Sarvamukti or simultaneous universal emancipation hardly try to achieve their own emancipation, for it is verily the truth that the individual emancipation is the first step towards universal emancipation. That all could achieve emancipation at the same time and should is a fervent hope that has hardly any divine possibility. But everyone can achieve it in one life provided he really seeks emancipation, transformation, and supramentalization. It is easy, however, to avoid the effort by an ideological and sentimental intellectual subterfuge for reasons known or unknown to oneself. There is hardly any doubt that the true seekers of the ultimate experience and the solution of the problem of the life will find these pages of utmost help and relevance. They would be guided by the authentic words of the true Guru and seek through him the ultimate. For it is truly said, a true Guru is difficult to get. But in the words of the Upanishad, we can also reply that a true disciple is also equally difficult to find or get. We are fortunate that we have amongst us a true Guru in every sense of the term, who is earnest to be tried and tested. And may India be enabled to seek his help, and may mankind be profited by his presence among men. We have so many men earnest for the higher life. There are many voices and many doctrines and multitudinous aspirations. It is clear that a spiritual solution alone can be true, and none who has not discovered true spirituality can really be able to help in the regeneration, if not recognition, of mankind. It is therefore clear that even in the fields of spirituality, voices of lesser caliber are being heard, voices that strike the notes of pseudo spirituality, such as humanism, humanitarianism, and so on, which are expressions of spirituality but not spirituality itself. So around the time when this was written, no, there was the movement of humanism, movement of humanitarianism. So many other movements were going on. So it's in that context that he has quoted that. They are all expressions of spirituality, not core spirituality itself. This is also something you have to remember. When somebody writes a foreword, they keep the current context in which they are living while writing the foreword. So some of the things you can make sense if you know the current context they were living when they wrote it. Otherwise, you will not know what they are writing about. You remember the dynamo example? Dynamo example Babaji wrote because that was in vogue in contemporary science. In contemporary science at that time. So you use that example. Okay. We have to arrive at the real thing, which is unadulterated spirituality. For the present age is a more complicated age than previous ones, requiring a complete transformation of man all over the world in all his attitudes. True unity in the world and all other cooperative enterprises, international or interracial, can hardly touch the core of the human problem. Therefore, it becomes incumbent upon man of serious purpose to seek the real and the ultimate stuff. It should not be said that we are merely seeking to dissolve men into the primeval or the original substance and be lost or merged in it forever. That's not what we want. On the contrary, it appears that we can hardly have universal salvation unless we gain that awareness and experience of that ultimate state for each one. This does not mean the extinguishment of the ray of creation in the individual on his attainment of the mukti, leaving the world poorer and God without a ray of lila. So every human being is a ray of lila of God. God is expressing his creativity through this lila. Okay. Look at every human being, every living being as a ray of lila of God. His play. He is revealing himself through this play through creativity. And that is playful creativity. The creativity does not harm anyone. It is playful creativity, like a child playing with one another. Playfully, he reveals himself. So, when we reach the ultimate, we become part of his lila. We don't stop the lila. We become part of his lila. So, in other words, you will be able to play your part better. You will not stop playing your part. So, if Bharat wants to act in the cinema, he'll become a better actor by touching the ultimate. He'll not stop acting. Does it make sense? It is therefore with a feeling of urgency of the individual fulfillment and realization that Sri Ramchandra Ji has given this book to the world. May he live long to see the fulfillment of the hope of ages. ಸರಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ನಿಲ್ಲಿಸೋಣ ಪ್ರಿಫೇಸ್ we'll read tomorrow next time on Tuesday. Okay, any questions you can ask. I can only ask you one question.